All right, everyone. So the title of this video is "Does being a martial artist make you a good fighter?" So I want to tap into this subject. I feel if anything, it'll help existing martial artists understand uh, the type of training they're going through. It's not to pick on any martial arts, not to say one style is better than the other. It's more of the psychology about the martial arts. So does being a martial artist make you a good fighter? Not necessarily. Um, Being a martial artist, there's a lot of benefits to it. You gain confidence. You develop self-discipline, because if you're practicing martial arts, that means you're intentionally making time for it. Um, you're physically putting in the work. So being a martial artist gives you so many benefits. You're training your body, making it stronger, making it faster, making it more agile. A lot of that gives you confidence. You're looking better. Um, it's helping out your health, cardiovascular health, helping out your strength levels. Um, so there's so many benefits, but um, it making you a good fighter really depends on the practitioner, not necessarily the martial art itself. So it's mainly about intention. If your intention is to be a good fighter, then when you're in the martial arts, when you're training, you need to train with the intention of fighting. And I'm not saying you have to become a fighter, but an example is and I'll use an example of a way that I used to train. So when I first started the martial arts, I was had some aggression. I was really quiet. My thing is that I want to be the best fighter when I first started. So as I progressed in the martial arts, that aggression went down. I didn't have a lot of anger issues. I actually enjoyed the art of the martial arts, where I wanted to execute each movement um, with precision, with speed, with power, and I wanted to make sure it looked good. So my focus shifted to learning all the movements, learning as many movements as I could, learning the forms, which in karate they're called katas, but learning the forms of martial arts, making sure that my posture was correct, making sure that the kick was in the right place, the punch was in the right place. Um, if you were to see me execute these movements, the reaction I would have wanted was to be like, wow, that guy knows his stuff. So what I was doing is that I was learning how to use the tools given to me. But my intention was not to be a good fighter. So whenever I would spar, yes, I could have all these good movements. I have this flexibility, this speed, but I wouldn't have the ability to connect towards my opponent. And in this case, my opponents were my teammates. So the intention was never to hurt each other or to humiliate each other. It was always to help each other. But since that intention of not becoming a fighter wasn't there, it wasn't a focus of mine until later on, when I realized some of my fellow teammates, their movements, even though they weren't as flexible or they weren't as fast, they would always connect. If they aimed a hit to my head, they would connect and hit me in the head. If they aimed a hit to my stomach, they would connect, hit me in the stomach. If they wanted to kick me on my stomach, on towards my ribs, do a headshot kick, they would connect. So when I tried to do this, me being a bit faster than them, they would dodge it. They would move out of the way, and I'd be wondering, like, I have the moves down. Why am I not connecting? It's because my intention of fighting wasn't there. So basically, it's something you have to put work into as well. Martial arts is giving you the tools. It's giving you, if you're in a traditional martial arts style, it's giving you the tools. But if you don't actually put them to work, then then they're not gonna do you any good in a situation where you're actually fighting. So I shifted my practice to sparring more often with a fellow teammate, knowing that most likely they have a chance to connect and hit me. I use that as to my advantage to understand why that happened, what I could have done, how I could have countered. The thing is, in many martial arts, especially the ones where striking is involved, for example, like kung fu, karate, um, taekwondo, um, even though they're competitive martial arts, and you can enter tournaments to spar, you can but there's other categories too. You might have weapons in your style. You're gonna do forms, katas, where you show the movements, but not everybody usually signs up for the sparring part, and that's because that's just not a focus for them. And with sparring, even though you're sparring with a teammate, you can still get hurt because you are making contact. You never know when you're gonna kick somebody in the elbow. You never know when you're gonna make contact shin to shin. You never know when you're accidentally gonna punch somebody in the face or they're gonna hit you in the face because they miscalculated their reach. You never know if somebody's gonna add more power than they should, where it's something that you can tolerate or take versus something that can actually hurt you. So many things can happen when sparring, but it is one of the most effective ways to build your fighting. Now, I'll use the example of usually back when I was younger, we had these individuals called cholos. They're still around today, but I know back then that was a really big deal. This group of cholos, they're usually part of gangs. So some of these guys were actually good fighters, and they weren't a part of any martial arts association. They weren't part of any boxing association. What had happened was that these guys would actually be in fights every day. So most likely when they first start fighting, well, all they're doing is they're swinging their arms, they're throwing their legs around, they're trying to make contact. Their intention is to hit. They just don't have the moves. So usually the ones that got better was because they would fight so much that they eventually got better timing. So they would swing a punch at you. Something that was like a swinging hook, or in martial arts it could be like a long fist, and they're trying to aim it at your head. After realizing how much they didn't make contact, they adjusted, and they figured out the timing in order to make contact. They figured out the right amount of speed. They figured out when to expect the punch to be thrown at them, so they would avoid it. So there's some people out there that say like, oh yeah, if a street fighter versus a martial artist, martial arts would win. I don't necessarily agree with that, because if you're fighting with an actual street fighter, somebody who has put in their 10,000 hours in fighting, they're gonna have the bigger advantage, even if they don't have the moves. That one hook that they have, if they connect it, then you're in trouble. It doesn't matter what martial art even if you're a grappler, if your defense is high, if they know when to throw it and they know when to expect your hit, then you're in danger from this individual. And the reason is because their intention is always to make contact. It's to hit. Their form of defense is to take down the other person. So it doesn't mean that you should go out there and be a street fighter. It just means that you actually have the luxury now, if you're a martial artist, to train with a team. But get your team members and ask them, hey, I need help. Let's spar. Most of the times, people in the martial arts don't do that because, one, they're not. It's not easy to ask for help. It's not something we automatically do with people that we don't know, or people that we're not too connected with. But it is something that's really necessary. Is you you want to get better at fighting, ask one of your teammates, hey, can we spar? I want to practice this one technique. And that way you'll know if that technique works or not. Now, yeah, the intention's not going to be as high as to try and knock out your teammate, but at least at least you know that you want to make contact. Now, if you want to add power to your hits at 100%, then get a punching bag. And most likely in your martial arts studio, you'll have one. So, a lot of the shadow boxing you should be doing, if your intention is to be a really good fighter, is to really use your shadow boxing on that punching bag. Know how much power is the right amount of power to use in a fight. So that's something I wanted to share to most martial artists will probably see where I'm coming from. Again, if you have any other comments, feel free to add them in the comments list. If I missed anything, let me know. If you disagree, let me know your thoughts. I'm happy to hear them all. I'm really open-minded. All right, guys, have a great day.